listening to the Bucknuts Morning 5 here on Monday, July 20th, 2015. I am Dave Biddle, and I am joined by the Dean of Ohio State football recruiting, Bill Kurelic. Bill, how are you doing this morning? Thanks for joining me.
Very well, Dave. My pleasure, and good to, as always, talk Ohio State recruiting. So let's get started.
Let's get right into it. Buckeyes with 17 commitments in their 2016 class. They are ranked third in the 24/7 Sports Composite Team Recruiting Rankings. LSU is number 1. Florida State is second. Bama is fourth. My question for you is, how many do you think they can get to in this class as far as numbers? I'm of the opinion if Urban Meyer wants to get to 25, he's going to find a way to get to 25. What's your take? How many can they get to in this class? What's the max?
Well, I've always said, or at least for quite some time, that it's going to be most likely at least 22. It's hard to say exactly because, you don't know exactly. Nobody knows exactly right now how many guys are going to leave early for the NFL. Dave, we've heard all the speculation. Everybody expects Joey Bosa to be gone, and everybody expects Ezekiel Elliott, for instance. But what about Von Bell? What about a number of the guys that could go early for the NFL? Certainly the Ohio State staff has a pretty good feel at least for that, and they're planning for it. But, there are no certainties when it comes to that. But I do agree that it could be 25. If Urban Meyer has 25 guys that he thinks can really help the program and doesn't want to turn down, then he's going to do his very best to get all 25 of those guys in the class. So I don't think 25 is out of the question. I think it's safe to say that it'll be between 22 and 25 at this point.
I think at least 5 guys are going to leave early, as you mentioned. Ezekiel Elliott, I think, is a lock. Joey Bosa is a lock if they stay healthy. Michael Thomas, I think, is going to leave early. Darren Lee's going to leave early. Von Bell's going to leave early. This is just my opinion. Cardale Jones could leave early if he ends up being the starter. They got 6 guys leave early. I mean, it's going to be very interesting to monitor. We'll see how many they can get to.
I mentioned in one of the pieces I wrote, I even mentioned Pat Elflein, and nobody talked about him. But in talking to a few people, it's not out of the question that he could have a great season and be an interesting one to keep an eye on. So you just don't know. It's going into his 3rd year now, and he was pretty darn good on the offensive line last year. And if he has a great year, who knows?
Yeah, Elflein was first-team All-Big Ten by either the media or the coaches. I don't think he was on both, but he was first-team All-Big Ten by either the media or the coaches. He's going to be a 4th-year junior. He's getting some All-American pub, and he could be a guy that leaves early. That's a good point. No, he's been a great story, a guy that people are wondering when he first committed, who's this guy? He seems undersized. It's like never count out those wrestlers. Let me just say that. Those ex-wrestlers who play football, they always seem to play well. Bill, with Friday Night Lights this week, who's on commit watch? Who's maybe some players that you think have a chance of committing this week to the Buckeyes, either the 2016 class or the 2017 class?
Well, I don't know if it'll necessarily be this weekend, but certainly a guy that I'm going to be watching is Luke Farrell. Now, he's continued to say, and I've talked to Luke a lot via text and all, and in person and things like that, and he has continued to tell me that it'll be early August. But, Dave, you know how it goes. You've been at Friday Night Lights, and that's quite an atmosphere. Who says he couldn't pull the trigger at Friday Night Lights? I don't think that's out of the question. We'll see. But he's certainly a guy that, let's say over the next 2 weeks, I'll be watching very, very closely. Another guy I mentioned last week that certainly could be on commitment watch is the defensive lineman from Cincinnati Woods, 2017 tackle Jerron Cage. He has told me that I directly asked him, might you commit to Ohio State this weekend, providing you do, as you are planning to, make it to Friday Night Lights? And he said, we'll see. He's certainly a guy that I would keep in mind. Ohio State, Michigan State are his top 2, and Ohio State's the one that's offered of the 2. So that certainly is not out of the question. Andrew Pritz is another guy to keep an eye on. He's back to the 2016 class. He's a safety they're very interested in. I'm not saying he will, but again, while he is looking more like waiting, you just never know once they get under the bright lights and things like that. So that's another guy. But and then there's always a possible surprise guy. So it'll be fun to watch. But those are some names that I would definitely bring up.
We will obviously keep the listeners updated on Friday Night Lights as we go through the week, and we will be fully staffed there this Friday it gets going around 6 o'clock, but it doesn't really get going until around, what, like 7 or 8? What's the meat of Friday Night Lights? Like, if somebody could only go for a couple hours, Bill, and not the whole event, what's the kind of sweet spot, the best time to be there?
Well, the later the better. If you can only be a part of it, that's when the competition type action starts. But really, it's going to get really going around 7 o'clock with different drills and things, and those are interesting because you get to see the kids go through the paces and work out and things. But when they get in the competition, after that is where it really gets interesting because it's competition of some of the very best players in the United States going against each other. That's what it's all about, great competition.
Nick Bosa, I want to get your thoughts on him real quick. We were told a while ago that he was probably going to make his decision before his senior season started, and I kept hearing it's going to be Ohio State all the way. What's the latest with him? Is he wavering a little bit now, or do you still think he's going to be a Buckeye, and when is he going to make his decision, in your opinion?
I don't think he's changed his thinking at all. And talking to his head coach last week, his coach told me the exact same thing that I felt all along, that there's no doubt that Nick has made it very clear that Ohio State is his number one choice. Even his head coach, though, doesn't know for sure right now exactly when Nick will announce, telling me that it certainly could be before the football season started, but that it's not out of the question he could wait. He said that Nick has not given him a definitive time as to when he's going to announce his decision. My feeling is that it's more likely to happen before the season, but we'll see. And my feeling has not changed one bit. I think he's going to be a Buckeye.
That's good, because I've been telling everybody he's going to be a Buckeye. I don't want to look like a liar. Donnie Corley, I'm looking at his crystal ball picks. Michigan State is 86% favored to land Donnie Corley, the wide receiver from Detroit, MLK. He's ranked as the number 18 wide receiver in the country, number 113 overall player in the country. Ohio State has 5% of the crystal ball, Bill. Notre Dame's in there. Tennessee's in there. So is Donnie Corley, is he an extreme long shot for the Buckeyes?
He's not as big a long shot to me as a lot of people are making it out to be. Again, Donnie's a young man that I've spoken to a lot, and he's always spoken very highly of Ohio State and his interest in Ohio State. Now, do I think Michigan State is the school to beat at this minute? Yeah, I do. But, he decided he decided to delay his decision at the behest of his father. And I think that was good for Ohio State. I think the more that he considers Ohio State, perhaps getting back on campus like he has said he wants to do, that helps Ohio State. I think it's a lot closer battle right now than people are giving Ohio State credit for. I think that Ohio State is most definitely a legitimate contender for Donnie Corley. Again, right now I think Michigan State has the edge, but he's not deciding right now.
Well, that's good news. So he's, maybe not an extreme long shot, as I said. He's not as much of a long shot as maybe people think. The dean is setting us straight. Staying in the state of Michigan, the Wolverines have 21 commitments. They're ranked 8th in the 24/7 Sports Composite. What shocks me, Bill, is Michigan, of their 21 commitments, 0 are from the state of Ohio. I never thought I would see the day when Michigan even had 10 commitments and 1 wasn't from the state of Ohio, let alone 21. I mean, when I was growing up, it was like Michigan basically would out-recruit Ohio State in the state of Ohio. It was embarrassing. What do you make of this? Is this just an aberration? Is Jim Harbaugh just going a different direction? What do you make of Michigan having 21 commitments, 0 being from the state of Ohio?
Early on, I was surprised at what I was hearing talking to recruits. I would talk to so many of them, and they would not mention Michigan as one of the choices or even really recruiting them. Good case in point, DeMario McCall. I thought Michigan would go after him hard. They really didn't. As things progressed, I just got the feeling that Michigan was not making Ohio a priority, most likely because Urban Meyer already is so entrenched, and Harbaugh getting a late start on the class of 2016 was not going to change how entrenched the Ohio State program and Urban Meyer recruiting is in the state of Ohio. So I think they just said, why use our time when the odds are against us really doing very well for the class of 2016 in Ohio. They have made, I guess you'd say, more of an effort with the class of 2017, but maybe not still as much as I thought they would. I think that, again, Jim Harbaugh, it's going to be tough sledding for him to beat out Urban Meyer for the best kids in Ohio. Ohio State is number one in the country. They are the defending national champs. They have recruited Ohio very well overall. Notre Dame probably is Ohio State's biggest deterrent or foe when it comes to recruiting the state of Ohio. So what'll be interesting to me is how much will it change for the class of 2018? Will Michigan make a really concerted effort to challenge Ohio State in their home state? We'll see what happens there.
Great stuff from the Dean of Ohio State Football Recruiting, Bill Kurelic. And if you want to read more on recruiting, Bill's What I Am Hearing column is already on the site. That is required reading if you're a recruiting fan, so make sure you check out Bill's What I Am Hearing. It is already on the site for subscribers. Thanks again to Bill Kurelic, and thanks to you for listening to the show. I appreciate it. I hope you have a great day. Take it away, best damn band in the land.